What was your most memorable Minecraft world? A friend of mine made one called Cheesing, and it wasn't defined by crazy complex buildings, but rather by dozens of entirely self-sufficient and safe rest stops. Most of the paths were marked by simple 2-block high cobblestone with torches, usually just under the draw distance limit on his computer. This world was freaking massive. The only effective way to travel between some areas he built was through the nether, and in some cases you'd have to travel for over an hour in real time to get anywhere. There were a few impressive structures. My friend preferred to work with the shape of the land and available local resources. It's amazing what you can do when working part-time. That sounds amazing. Friend owned and ran the second largest survival server in Australia at the time, or SRPcraft if I recall correctly, on which I was a mod. Each mod had their own town which players could join, or they could create their own if they had 4 other players willing to join them. I had a large desert town called Salora which had some pretty skilled builders living there and they made it look fantastic. This was until the owner and other mod decided to declare war on Salora. At this point sandstone had just been added in and was quite strong, so I made like Trump and built a wall. It looked pretty short to those builders. We defended Salora hard right up until the update came that made sandstone break super easily. At this point Salora was ransacked and my town became a group of guerrilla fighters who led a stealth mission into the owner's town, built a series of strategically placed tunnels and blew the place sky high. Man, this makes me want to play Minecraft. When I was younger, I used to play Minecraft on the console with my mom and sisters. We had one world on creative where we would build. My mom loved building. She especially loved lapis ore, and would go on creative and build houses and pools. I remember when she built a massive hotel made of wool, with each room furnished with pictures and beds. Each layer was a different color. It was Rainbow Hotel. She once took an entire mountain, hollowed it out and covered it with gold blocks. It was completely empty inside, aside from torches. We named the world after it, the Golden Mountain. Then we loaded up a survival world and her chest got blown up by a creeper. She hasn't played since. Marade, my mum can't fathom that there is a second stick on the controller, so does everything pointing down. She only played it twice cause she said her Atari in Pac-Man was better. Our high school class sponsored one of our friends to set up and manage one. It was a good time to come home and log on to Minecraft just to build and explore with friends. I'm doing this for people in my major and it is great. I really recommend it if you have a server or old computer laying around. Even a Raspberry Pi will work if there's less than 5 people on at a time. Back in the Xbox 360 Minecraft with the fixed world sizes, I honestly have no idea if current console Minecrafts have the same limitations. I had a world that was filled with castles of various designs, from demonic to Scottish to typical medieval, complete with a large mining system connecting all of the castles via a rail system, which also supplied all of the material for said castles. On Xbox One you can either have it be infinite or limited like it was on 360, and it tells you the boundaries you would have instead of small, medium, large, D. Tweaked the settings until I got a massive mushroom biome peninsula as my spawn solely because I liked the color of the grass when it grew. Took days. With how much work I put into it, I really should have saved it all somewhere. I have a 1.14 file with a mushroom spawn next to a sunken ship. If you want I can get you the seed number. My son was young, and he and his friends did challenges together, where they'd make superheroes, like large butt statues. They were actually surprisingly good. He'd show them to me from time to time and I always thought they were cool. So one day, Gwenpool is there, but she'd been there a while. Cool. Except I see something weird around her crotch area. I ask him. He doesn't know. So we go over and there is now one block of glass at that area. And we see a pig moving around inside her. I break the block by accident. I swear I don't know how you aren't destroying everything you built when you play that game. Or I'm just crusty and old. Anyways, I do that. And the pig falls out. And then tons of animals start coming out. My son says, I didn't know she was pregnant before. My freaking server world. My mate and me had our own public server. We had over 40 active player. Everything was built in survival mode without mods and crap. The community was awesome. Now, I recently discovered a freaking fan-made trailer for my old server. The nostalgia hit me like a truck. and I don't have the world file anymore. Makes me seriously mad. Link. I actually still have it on my old tablet. I tried making a city. There was a house, apartment building, jail, restaurants and some sort of sidewalk connecting everything. I spent like a week on that haha. This was back in the good old days when the height limit was hard coded in, rather than being a variable that you set at the server level. You could use mods to edit it, but by default, it was like 64 meters up or something. My roommate and a few friends and I had a server we were all sharing, just locally hosted. It didn't need to be very robust, considering it never had more than about 5 people in it. One day, looking around, I decided that what this world really needed was a dome. But not just any dome. Oh no, this was going to be a maximum height dome, stretching from the ground all the way to the height cap. So I looked up a voxel design for a sphere, calculated how big across a 64 high dome would be, and started leveling and clearing the ground. Then I started putting down stone blocks, following the plan, and building the dome. Of course this thing was massive, and I ran out of stone in like half an hour. But my friends decided to give me their massive stacks of stone that they'd gotten from digging out tunnels underground. And this continued for a good 2 or 3 weeks, with me spending most of my time building this crazy dome and them doing normal Minecraft things. Naturally it took a long time at first, since I had to lay out the full perimeter, but slowly, over time, the dome started getting bigger. One day we noticed it was actually starting to blot out our maps. Then it got tall enough that you could see it at a distance, through the trees, and it didn't stop. I didn't stop. It kept getting taller and started to curve inwards. Now it was getting dark underneath that dome, with huge twilight areas shaded by the dome's wall. Finally, it was almost complete and only needed 2 tiles to complete it. We decided to complete the dome with a little ritual and built an altar underneath the apex of it. 2 of my friends were down there, with myself and the server admin at the top. Pop down some lava, use a water bucket to harden it and cap off the dome. Then teleport down to our friends to watch as the lava stream poured itself over the altar. Our sacrificial chicken ran away. Well, the lava spread out a lot more than we anticipated and ended up killing one of my friends. This was also around when we discovered that the completed dome blocked sunlight completely, causing creepers, zombies and spiders to spawn inside it. I don't think any of us survived the christening of that dome, to be quite honest, and we could never go back into it. Things spawned so readily in that darkness that it simply wasn't safe. We ended up sealing my dome of nightmares shut and moving on to other things, leaving this maximum height immensity blotting out the horizon. This is amazing. Long live the dome. I created a roller coaster when I was 11. It went through every biome and ended in a castle. I found the world on an old SSD and I almost cried. I left myself a note at the end which I didn't remember. Be happy, be a frisky depressed teen now. That was the most wholesome part of my day. Love the description, frisky depressed teen, cuz that is definitely me right now. I didn't name it, so Minecraft named it itself, Fred, all lowercase. Mind you, this was in early Pocket Edition when I was about 7-8, so the most valuable thing I had was a hotel made of dirt. I had chickens in the basement and chests because the chickens liked them and would stick their faces in them. This world was very special to me, though I only had iron tools. I always played on peaceful back then because I was terrified of mobs. PTSD after a spider one hit killed me once I worked up the courage to actually attack it. Glitch. Anyway, the hotel was a 2-story square dirt house in a snowy biome next to a frozen pond. I have no idea why that world was so special to me. I played on it every chance I could. Unfortunately, I was forced to delete it when an update rendered it unplayable. Jesus, this sounds exactly like me. I don't play, but my 6-year-old daughter discovered that as you feed shrimp to cheetahs in the game, they turn into housegoats, so she went around domesticating cheetahs and built them a giant cat condo community to play on. She really likes cats. I feel like she wowed be happy to know that there are now stray cats you can rescue around some villages. I've only really played one survival world since beta 1.7.3. The world is mangled and weird now from all the terrain changes, but I still like it. Notably, about 100 feet or so from my house is a tumor that glitched itself into existence. It's a large clump of random blocks that spews water and lava. There's even command blocks in there. I would genuinely love to see this. There was a massive mountain and a smaller one next to it, and me and a friend over the course of a year filled every bit of the inside and underneath them to bedrock, with an intricate, well-decorated hive of rooms. A bridge ran from peak to peak, a castle on each, massive forts. My friend rage quitted one day when the owner asked to join the clan. I tried to explain, the owner can do whatever he wants anyways, but nope, the guy was just too odd for reason. That was it. He was done in an instant. My most memorable Minecraft world would have been my first world ever. It was a bad wooden house, but it was probs the best house I ever made. It was crap, won't lie, but it held a special place on my 10-year journey that led me to here. Had this beautiful world, and made a house right next to the water. It was a ton of fun and eventually tamed a wolf into a dog and had a friend to have adventures with. I had a genuine attachment to this dog. One day I was fighting a creeper and my dog got too close. The creeper blew up, taking its own life along with my dog's. I held a funeral service and made a little gravestone. I searched for more wolves to tame to fill the hole that was my heart, but never found another one. Reminds me when my first ever Minecraft dog died due to fire. I was sad that day. I tried the Galacticraft mod and spawned literally right next to a fallen meteor. Now, when I say meteor, I mean a huge hunk of fallen sky rock that has left a massive crater. Oh, and there was a freaking ravine underneath it that was only partially visible from above. I put up a wall around the crater and dug my base into the sides. The ravine became my mine. I also mined all but the base of the meteor and used it as the launch area for my rockets. It was a server I started with my brother and some friends. We all built houses, fought the dragon, but it just got so out of date. I will never forget Chodes of Excellence. That sounds like a gay nightly guild. I lost it the other week. It was on a portable drive. It had sat there for 10 years. It was an expansive world I built back when Minecraft was new. Made just after release, it included a cactus farm built from scratch, a huge bridge crossing a lake, a very long minicoot track, my first ever, and my underground house. It was my little world frozen in time. It's gone now, though. My drive exploded just last week. For around 8.5 years ago I got Minecraft and started playing. One of the last things I built before discovering mods was the ability to build an underwater house of glass. This took me quite some time to finish one house, but after that I was wondering if the villagers wanted houses underneath water as well, so a major project started. The computer later died in a motorbike accident, with the save and everything on it. There was a server ran by some guy named Dangasm with a few mods to make an economy. I went from a small apartment to building my own underground city with multiple farms, houses, and as my pride and joy a pair of above and below ground spin arenas that allowed players to play high or low stakes, spectate, and have other players act as vendors with stalls. I've tried for years to contact the owner after he stopped updating it to get the world file, but he's never replied. My first one. My brother and I shared one account in the beginning and we just bought the game because our best friend said it was cool. We had no idea what we were doing and the world was in creative anyway. Build the weirdest treehouse platform on top of the trees ever. And as we wanted to build underground we dug straight down into the biggest cave system I've seen to this day. That world was cool. We also built a very big pig statue in the ocean out of pink wool and it had lots of pigs in it. I think I still have it on a USB stick somewhere. Also my friend, my brother and I played on a big server that had a PvP world on it and built an underground base. It was so far away that nobody would ever find it and someday we stopped caring if someone would find us. We had a lot of free time back then and decided it would be funny to build a huge mountain out of stone we had lying around from when we built a subway system to a village 1000 blocks away from our base. When the mountain was finished we crafted all our valuables into blocks and put them on display inside of it. Awesome as frick. But then we lost Steam and didn't play on that server anymore. My friend eventually lodged back onto the server 2 years later to discover that our base was still standing, be still undiscovered, and see that someone had built a house on the side of the mountain we had made. I think I still have it on a USB stick somewhere. Careful, flash memory will decay when left unplugged. Way back when Minecraft Creative Mode was like the free trial version of Minecraft, and Survival Mode had a separate build that first introduced infinite worlds, I would always go online and look for Creative Mode servers to play on. I really enjoyed making pixel art with colored cloth blocks when they were first implemented, and there was one that was just called the fridge. I joined and was very quickly disappointed to find out they did not have a giant fridge in their server. So I did what anyone would do. I built a 20x30x100 block tall fridge with a freezer compartment. Then everyone in the server came over and started adding food to the fridge. I hope that somewhere out there in the vastness of the internet, that my fridge is still standing proud to this day. My older brother and I played together every day and we built an awesome village and we just kept expanding it. One day our account suddenly stopped working and since then we have never been able to find the world again. Good memories though. My mate and I built an entire 15-story hotel that had detail on every floor including a penthouse. It took forever to build but we were proud of ourselves. Still remember almost all of it 4 years later. Backstory. My parents are divorced so when I was younger I switched between houses frequently. My family and I had a world on the Pocket Edition of Minecraft. It was creative because nobody knew how to play survival. Peasants. We put probably over 100 hours of work into it, creating anything we could think of. Since in Pocket Edition the worlds used to be limited in size, we had to work with every little bit we had. From creating Sky Parker to expanding a dwarven colony. The highlight of my time in this world was when my sister and I had to go to our mother's house for a week or so and then came back to see that my father and stepmother had created a huge mansion. Probably 100x100 blocks with 4-5 stories. Sadly, the iPad that we used to run the world on no longer works so I couldn't get a world download. Did anyone else go on those creative servers where you had a plot of a land and people would host skin contests, RPS etc. Those are my most memorable times, just grabbing loads of random players and offering my plot to build something random. Not technically my own world but that's my most memorable. Oh my god stop. Those were the best. I had such a sense of validation when people came to my plot. I remember my brother and I were playing one of our first mods together and found this awesome village where it had this peak overlooking it. So we built this huge castle on the peak and had our own flower gardens and farms as we played. Though the farms kept getting demolished by creepers. Good memories. If you only mean vanilla, then I have a very odd building style that uses a lot of otherworldly materials. I once made a massive mansion that unfortunately got corrupted. If modded is allowed. Then I just broke a Sky Factory 4 world by having a cow spawner that was so efficient that I came back to an 11 by 11 by 4 area of solid cow. One of my finer moments. Minecraft had got downloaded on our school iPads. Me being interested in war made a World War II D-Day map with tutorials and it was a really good idea. Never really worked though, it would have to be more organized. After this, I made a World War I trench warfare map. Each side had riflemen, equipped with bows and arrows, and medics, who wore blue caps and had healing potions. It was pretty nice, until the day Minecraft was removed off our iPads. Skip forward a bit, a new club is formed. You have to sign a paper saying you won't play Minecraft during class, blah, and you get Minecraft back on your iPad. But guess what? You can't hurt other players because school rules or whatever. What do I do now? I thought about it for a little, but then I just made it where one side is all players, the other is all skeletons. Still medics and riflemen, and a sword guy, but now there were skeletons. I ran everything, spawned in the skeletons, and sometimes, there were huge battles. I'm talking big battles, like 10-18 players. It was so nice. Then I moved. I actually still have the file, but I think you can only open it from the Minecraft Education Edition, not regular Minecraft. One I made with my best friend back in 2010-2011-ish. Survival. We built a giant castle, with various bits to surprise murder each other, a huge and complex train system back before they added all those fancy control blocks for it. Loads of other random things too. I think I added a secret maze. Friend crashed his car on the 16th of March 2011, then passed away on the 22nd. I had built him a really cool floating island during the time he was in hospital, was gutted he didn't get to see it, had hoped he was gonna be okay. I'm very sorry for your loss. For what it's worth, I'm sure he would have loved it. I made statues of myself and friends that you could live in, or that one time my older sister stole my diamond and fell off a cliff into lava. I almost killed her. I emptied out the whole world down to bedrock and made a city from bedrock up. Somehow the world got corrupted. Still salty about that one. Okay, so I was playing on my iPod, back when it was only creative with the mobile version. And I built a huge freaking village suspensed over a ravine with multiple levels. It was cool. I eventually switched it to a survival world and added a farm and mob grinder. The fire spreads update almost fricked me up because I had an eternal flame in the center of town. Definitely my battleship world. Well, I started up a survival world back in the day and decided I wanted to get serious in this one. After a few weeks I managed to build a big butt mansion. But I got the urge to build more. After a bit of thinking I decided to make a life-size battleship in the ocean next to my house. I don't remember how long it took, but this was old school survival and I had to lay that behemoth down on water, so it definitely took a while. The final product had a bridge, engine room, crew quarters, mess hall, and 6 fully functional TNT cannons housed in 3 turrets, 2 facing forwards and 1 aft. The only problem was I couldn't rotate the turrets, so they could only fire in those 2 directions. I did end up setting up some obsidian on the water to hit targets and test different firing ranges. That ship was tight. TNT cannons are legit. They make great harbor guns because they don't have to move, and if you're shooting into the water it won't wreck the terrain. Plus you can use boats and squids for target practice. It's a world where I made my Iral house and then my hood, and it was really big and awesome, but then my brother deleted the MC folder. Me and my sister made a castle, and this was before rails and natural caves, so we had to run, and no natural caves, so when we got our first diamonds it was crazy. I have to. 1. It was a massive sky base with a prison, a cafe, a house for me, a water source, a mine, an incinerator, a military base, and all sad that my brother blew it all up though. I cried for hours. 2. I constantly helped my dad on this awesome world of the old Molyneux, Wolverhampton Wanderers Stadium, and it was massive and so cool. I started this world back in 2012, and I think this was when the rainforest biome was added. So here I am, and I think wouldn't it be awesome to make a treehouse village, so that's what I did. I still have it on our family computer. When I was a little lad, my brother and I made a world called Muck and found out that if the person that joined left and joined back really quickly, their hotbar would be replaced by full stacks. So we had stacks of nether reactor cores, diamonds, diamond picks, everything. Sadly that legendary world is now lost in our memories because the world was deleted a few days later cause our small heads had completed the game. When I was a little kid I made an old style world on Pay and made a huge castle. I thought it was huge at the time. I remember it taking months and it was just a giant box made out of stone. I miss those blissful days of innocence. Myself and some friends used to run a server a while back in which we as the admins would RP as gods. We created a whole mythology for the world and each of us took on the role of a specific god and we built the world accordingly. Each of us had an area that belonged to us where we would build what was appropriate. For example, me as the god of the sun and sands built a desert village, and the nature goddess built a forest city. At the center of it was a massive structure, on top of which was the Olympus-style throne room for the gods. Very little if any role-playing was actually done on the server, and I think we only had 2 people join the server, but it was still so much fun. And then we tried to downgrade our payment plan for the server, which apparently means delete the world, and we lost everything. One of my first ones on my small notebook. Even though I got only about 15-20 FPS, I still enjoyed just building and creative my small village. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.